All right, I was on mute. Damn it. Okay. So as I said earlier, sorry about that, fellas. Let's get back to this real quick. So Lopetegui looks like the next new head coach for Milan. Brought him earlier today on today's podcast with Milanistas 360. Myself, along with Husney, Shane, and our guest Andy, we went over some previous games for Milan. The inner game, obviously the Juve game prior to that, and Roma. And we all agreed that the team has given up on Pioli. Even the Roma fan agreed 100% that it looks like Milan has doing the same thing when Mourinho was in charge of Roma, when the Roma players stopped listening to him because he was out of ideas. And, they just totally gave up. That's the reason why they replaced him with De Rossi, obviously. And it looks like right now at this time, from the last several games in Milan, the players have given up and Pioli does not care. You can see it by his tactics that he's been putting people out of position, doing some really weird stuff. He doesn't care anymore. And the players too. The players during the inner game had no desire to win that game. Same thing with the Roma, the two legs, and during the last game against Juve, no desire to win the game at all. So obviously, with that being said, a lot of news broke out. I broke it out yesterday that the club is looking like they're gonna bring on Julen Lopetegui, the next head coach of Milan. Obviously, with some other names around there, Conte looks like he's going to, I think, Napoli, I think, if I'm not mistaken. You have Motta looks like he's going to Juve. De Zerbi, that's another name that's been thrown around. We don't know what's going to happen with him. I think he's out of our price range. There's Nagelsmann, but he's staying with Germany. You had Domenico Tedesco. He used to coach Red Bull in Bundesliga. Really good coach with a lot of good ideas. Tactically smart, young, upcoming coach. I would have liked him as well. Was never any mention of him in the papers or anything in the media that he was targeted by Milan. And he's currently coaching the national team of Belgium. So looks like we're going with Julen Lopetegui, being that he's affordable and he plays nice with management. That's his reputation, that he gets along with management. That's what something Jerry, Ibra, and Furlani want from the coach, in my personal opinion. I'm sure a lot of Milanistas feel the same way too. So that being said, let's dive into Julen Lopetegui, his profile. For people who missed that earlier today on our show with Milanistas 360. So Julen Lopetegui prefers his preferable formation in attack is a 4-3-3. He coached at FC Porto, Spain, Real Madrid for a short stint, Sevilla when he won the Europa League, and Wolverhampton, his latest stint in EPL. Now, what's really startling is his defensive record at Wolverhampton. So let's stay with defense. This is what this whole shows are really about. His team gave up 58 goals, which turns out to 1.53 a game. That's astonishing. That is scary. I personally haven't watched a lot of Wolverhampton games. I do watch the EPL games. So I really don't know what players he has on his staff, on his roster. But this is not looking good for us. Being that we do have defensive issues, we don't have the midfielders that play defense except for Ali when he wants to. Dejani's not a defensive midfielder. We have rotating center backs. We have Gabia playing 1 minute, and then we have Chow playing. Even though Chow had a great game yesterday, as we all saw that he had a really good game, one of his best games of the season. He's had an up and down season. He's had issues. Tamari, stable, but, thing is with our center backs and other defensive players, matter of fact, the whole team, they don't stay healthy because of injuries, being that our medical staff is not doing their job, and Pioli likes to play injured players, as we've seen with Kululu in the past. So this is something to consider. Milanista, this is what, the defensive stats of Julen Lopetegui. That honestly, my personal opinion about Lopetegui, I'm going to give him a chance. What else choice do we have? I don't expect a lot out of him, but I'm giving him the first 10, 12 games next season. If he ends up signing with Milan or any other coach, give him about 10, 12 games to get adjusted to the league, see what kind of tactics he brings, if the team is playing better, if they're playing more motivated, and if we're still in contention at that time, we're in second, third place within striking distance of first, then I'll support him to continue to support him for the rest of the season. But if I see we're getting our butts kicked again from Inter, our defense looks like it's a mess. Looked unorganized. We're giving up goals after goals on set pieces like this season that we have, and last season as well under Pioli. Personally, I would want him out. Don't even waste time. Why keep him around and continue down this path of 3 really mediocre seasons? I don't care what anybody who's been a Milan fan since, when they were, winning Champions League and Scudettos, we expect better from our team. At least compete, not be 19 points behind Inter and just being disorganized in the majority of the games against Inter, against other teams in Serie A and in Europa and Champions League. All right. So let's dive into his formation as well. So Lopetegui, and I talked about this earlier today with Husney and Shane on Milanista 360. Defensively, he plays a 1-4-3, 1-4-2-3-1 formation. And the really important thing about this is that double pivot midfielders need to be bulldogs. Need to have some serious teeth, in my opinion. And currently we don't have that. We have Adley, who can play defense sometimes. Matter of fact, he lied to Pioli that he could be a DM because he wanted to get on the pitch because he got tired of sitting in there and warming the bench for everybody else. We have Tijani, and I've said this a lot of times, he's always out of position, doesn't get back on time. He's an offensive-minded player. We have Benny. Benny is not the same player anymore since he's been back from injury. He got a really bad injury. He was badly hurt, was out for a while, as we all know. And then obviously he was on Ramadan. It probably didn't help his recovery, in my opinion, because he wasn't getting the proper nutrients, I think. And look at him now. He's not the same player. He doesn't have the same engine. He's not covering ground. He's missing his mark on his man when when we lose the ball, and they're getting in really good positions to score goals on us. And then we have Musa, who's technically a midfielder, but for whatever reason, Pioli's been putting him out on the wing the last 2 games. In my opinion, Musa does have the attributes, right? The profile, the ability to turn into a defensive midfielder. He has the motor. The kid could run. He's physical. He's a little pocket rocket or a little bulldog out there. He just needs time and a mentor, which currently we don't have a mentor for him, right? If we had somebody like Tonali, somebody like Kessie still on the team, one or the other, that would have been the perfect mentor to help this kid develop into that kind of player. So let's see what happens. All right, I'll be right back. Hold on, folks. All right, we're back. Sorry about that. Family's downstairs. What was the perks of having a studio in the house? All right. For everybody that's joined us, cool. Thanks. Really means a lot. All right. So we talked about Julen Lopetegui, players that he needs, midfielders that we currently have. Some of them fit into his system, some don't. Right? Ali doesn't fit in there. Tajani even lost his cheeks, in my opinion. He's an attacking midfielder. We need to look into that in the Mercado. Bring up some players and, matter of fact, some midfielders that we might take a look at in the summer that probably, from my opinion, would definitely be really good fit into our even Lopetegui system or anybody's system. Come on, let's be honest. Our midfield defensively has been massively underperforming this year. We've seen the gaps between the midfield and the defensive backs. Not great. How many times we lost the ball and there's just this huge gap. It looks like we're playing a 5-0-5 formation out there. One thing to mention about Lopetegui too, he likes the high press. Something that Pioli does a lot of times. A lot of teams in football do that. And in order for that to, you do need midfielders that can run, and more importantly, center backs. And the only center back that we have that has that kind of pace to pressure the ball up high, distribute it, is Tomori. Gabi can't do that, even though Gabi's been really good for us this season. Chow doesn't have the speed. Kalul has it, but he's out. And, that's another thing we need to look at as well. We need to look at not just getting midfielders with some serious teeth for our next season, regardless of who the coach is, but plus center backs. Our right back, center back, and somebody to back up Dale. We do have Jimenez, but he's been hurt. We have Bartazagi. He's all right, but he's not the same as Dale. Jimenez has that same kind of playing style as Dale, likes to bomb down the field. So he's got that potential, but who knows? He's going to get a chance to play. And then we have Tedeshana, who just disappeared completely off the map. So let's jump into some players that, all right, first things first, let's bring up all right, center back, Jaka Bijol, currently plays for Udinese. So he knows the league. The kid's young. He's 25, so he's at that age where he's really got to understand of the game. All right, he's not 20, 21, so he's been around the league for a little bit. Knows how to play. Knows the opponents in the league, which is huge for us, right? Something that we need, or any team needs. So the really good things that really stand out, he's good at aerial duels, hugely important, on crosses, obviously, set pieces, positioning, so he understands how to position himself, something that, super important as a center back. When you're marking these dangerous forwards like Thuram, Martinez, Lukaku, players in Europe, right? If when we're playing in Europa or Champions League, but we're playing in Champions League, so Champions League, right? And according to SofaScore, he doesn't have any outstanding weaknesses. The kid's right-footed. I've seen a couple of times, actually, this kid, Jaka Bijol, actually pretty good kid. He says that he does have he's strong in the air. His positioning is really good for a kid at 25. Like I said, at this point in his career, 25, you're hitting your peak. And even though he's right-footed, I'm sure at this point, listen, most people coming up to the academies learn how to use both feet. You have to, in order to move up the ranks and get scouted and make it to this point of your career, make it to the top of your profession. you have to be able to use both feet. So I'm sure he's pretty good with his left. Obviously, his preferred foot is right, but I'm sure he could use his left foot too. Or I would hope so. All right, so that's Jaka Bijol, center back. I think personally would fit in really good for us. You can see, look at his heat map. The kid covers a lot of ground. He's all over the place. Obviously, that's not an indication of if he's running with a purpose, he's just running around with like a headless chicken. But he covers a lot of ground, which is on a team, if you're playing a high press, hugely important. So let's get rid of this one. All right, boom. All right, next one up, Tiago Santos. He's a right back, so obviously we need a right back. We have Calabria, who hasn't been great for us. We have Florenzi, who's getting old. We don't know what Terracciano brings as right back, so he hasn't had a chance. Bartezaghi is okay. So we definitely have a need of a right back this next summer. Coming up, we need to pick up a right back. So Tiago Santos, currently plays out of Lille. His contract is until 2028, June 30th. He's 21. He's another right-footed. His current value is 8.5 mil, which is really good about this. He does play in France. As we know, Moncada has a really good relationship with French teams, academies, and so forth. He did bring Kouloulou from the French league. Magnan. His strengths are ground duels, tackling, consistency. So really good on ground duels. The hugely super important, strength to have as a right back to win those one-on-one duels against those left wingers. Against the Mbappes and KKs and stuff like that. And weaknesses, no outstanding weaknesses. So it's another really high potential, high quality defensive player that would, be really fit into Milan system. That'd be under Lopetegui or another coach, right? And you can look at this heat map here. This kid covers a lot of ground as well. Similar to Bijol as center back, right? He likes to bum up down the field, covers a lot of ground, which is, if you're going to play a high press, you need that too. So, there's two promising defensive players that we could potentially bring. And I don't want to forget about our Primavera players too. We have Simić. When, he didn't get a lot of playing time, but the time he did play, he looked composed out there. All right. He was really good on his duels. He did score a goal, which I honestly, I don't care if you score goals as center back. That's not what I want you to do as center back. I want you to be able to defend, communicate with your keeper, communicate with the other center back, able to defend 1v1s, win your duels, and be strong, be physical, be a menace out there to those forwards. All right, and Simić has those attributes. But as we know, Pioli didn't give him a chance this year at all. Not much at all. He had a few games, played well, and he got benched. He got sent back to Primavera, where he led that team to the finals of the Youth League. And now I think the other day too, I think he was on the bench too on this last game against Juve. Why didn't he get to play, knowing that we're comfortably in second place? I don't know what Pioli has against these kids. Bartezaghi got some burn. If anybody can answer that to me, please do. Because, like I said, Pioli, that's the one beef I have against Pioli, is he doesn't give a lot of youth players a chance. Especially when they show some promise. I mean, look at Barcelona. All right. Yeah, Barcelona is currently, how many young kids they have on their team? Fuck. They got Kurbasi, who's 17, 18, similar age as Simić, similar build as Simić. Not saying that Simić is Kurbasi, but we would never know. If he was given a chance, he might have been our next starting center back for the next 8 years. But he's sitting on the bench. All right, next one up. Let's get into some midfielders now. Youssef Fofana. Talked about him in the past. A bunch of us in our chats have talked about Youssef Fofana. So he's currently playing out of AS Monaco. His contract is until June 30th, 2025. He's 25, so another 25-year-old. So he's in the peak of his career. All right, he's right-footed, plays midfielder. All right, so this is his strength. Well, back. Let's go to his value. He's currently valued at 31 mil. Affordable for us, especially since we have a good relationship with France. Strength, positioning, playmaking, high pressing. Boom, exactly what you need from a DM. Perfect in that double pivot that Lopetegui likes to use. You want a high press, Fofana can do that. You want a playmaker out of that as well? You got that as well in Fofana. Positioning, he knows how to position himself, especially on defense, which is important to make sure you're getting back and covering your man on those when they're making the runs, when they have the ball, the other team. Weaknesses, none. So you have another outstanding young player who doesn't need a lot of time to develop. Sure, he doesn't know the Italian league, but he can ball. He's a player. And look at his heat map. He covers a lot of grounds. Something that Tonali did for us and Kessie. One of the main reasons why we won the Scudetto that year. Especially when we made that run in the last few games during the season where we weren't giving them any goals. So we had two defensive studs, midfielder studs. We had Kessie and Tonali. And Fofana could fill that role for us. And last but not least, we're bringing an Italian stallion here. Samuel Ricci, plays for Torino. For everybody's been following Serie A for some time, we know this kid. We've heard his name. He's Italian too. Something that our club desperately needs, another Italian player. Talented too, not just because he's Italian, because he's talented. He's 22, so he hasn't hit his peak yet, physical peak yet, but he's right-footed. He's currently valued at 18.2 mil. His contract runs out in 2026, June 30th, 2026. Strengths, ground duels, hugely important, really important. So he's a little more defensive-minded than Fofana. Imagine having those two midfielders next season as your double pivots. Somebody who could play, who's got really good winning balls in the ground when he's 1v1 duels. He's a playmaker and can high press, and you have another one who's got similar attributes to you. Perfect to have that double pivot. Matter of fact, Fofana being 25 would be a really good mentor for Musa as well, in my opinion. And you can look at his heat map as well. He covers a ton of ground, just like Fofana. So for this kind of system, if you're playing high press and you want to not leave a lot of gaps between your midfield and your defensive line, Ricci and Fofana are perfect midfielders for Milan. So what? Fofana's worth 30. Ricci's worth 18. All right. If you got a big budget, for me personally, this is what I want to see, the route that I want Milan to go next season. I know a lot of us want to see guys picking up strikers, Zerkis, or another high profile, or Secco. I've heard his name too mentioned, as strikers. Cool. So you spend 40, 50 million in those kids. Okay, but if you're not getting any midfielders, you're not stacking up your defensive line. How are we going to win games? We'll score a ton of goals. We've done it this season. We're scoring a ton of goals this season in Milan. But again, the midfield needs to be corrected. That's what I want our team to focus on. I want management, the new coach, whoever that is, to focus on signing some midfielders with some teeth, somebody like Ricci, Fofana, another right back like Bijol, Santos, I should say, that are brought up, or somebody else they have on their radar. Bijol, the center back, possibly. If not, promote Simić to the team. The kid he's ready to go. He just needs a coach to give him a chance out there. And I hope I see that, because the midfield for me is the heart and blood, the soul of a team. If you don't have a midfielder, you have nothing. Because they control the pace, they help out your defense, they do everything for you. They do so much for a team. If you don't have a midfield, which we don't have this year, we could score 2-3 goals a game, and we're going to give up a ton of goals too. So I hope management takes into consideration what they're doing with this new coach. We understand, because whatever direction we go with, Lopetegui, whoever, we need this coach to be stable and to be here for the next 2-3 seasons, at least 3 seasons, to sit down and get his players in order, get the players that he needs, the system down. Because if we restart again, we get rid of him because he's underperforming. We have to find a new coach in again. And we can start that cycle again. And then, by then, Inter, they're stacking up their pieces to make another run for the Scudetto and Champions League next year. They're the favorites next year. Juve's got Mota. They got some young kids. They might be making some moves in the Mercato too. Who knows? But we need to get our house in order. That's the most important thing as a club. We need to get back to where we were and be contenders again. Not this mediocre team, not to be content with finishing second, third place and being 20 points behind the first place team, because Napoli did it to us the season before, and now it's Inter. We need to get back to that. We need to contend. We need to push for that title. And we said it earlier today. Husney said it, matter of fact, today. And I agree with Husney. We need to focus on winning the league first. If we can win domestically, and then we can worry about making deep runs in the Champions League again. Because I want us to get that other star, and be contenders every season. Not just a fluke and just win it 1 year and not contend against the next 5-6 seasons. All right, and that starts with having a good, strong midfield, having a good, strong defense that can press, that can win the ball, can win their duels, can win aerial duels too, ground duels, recovering the ball, being monsters in the midfield, being demons. Give me one demon as midfielder and see how far we go next season with the team that we have. And a couple center backs and a right back, possibly, like I said, somebody for Theo to give him some rest, whoever that is. All right, that's all I got. Everybody tuning in again on YouTube, X, appreciate it. All right, make sure you subscribe, like, share. All right, Milanistas, be good, and always Forza Milan. Take it easy.